Okay, so we've been doing this module, the final module of Exploring Buddhism for a while, those who, which is, I think everything went in there that hadn't gone in before. So this has been a pilot program, and there is a sort of revised version. We've all, those of us who were piloting it around the world have, given some input, and it's been a little bit revised, mainly in the earlier, like exploring the mind, for example. Anyway, so I think we can do another round next year with that input. It's been a couple of years now. So this one, the creating conditions for realization. So before we looked at the different aspects in relation to meditation practice and developing the wisdoms there. So we did that. And then from September, we're going to be looking at the Nyondro, the preliminary practices, which is quite a nice unplanned coincidence, because there's no coincidences, that Tashi is going to be leading prostrations here, the practice of prostrations on a Tuesday night. Didn't plan it that way, but it fits in very nicely. So that's great. So this is sort of like a bridge between what we were looking at before, which was when? Must have been June. When did I have my operation? Yeah, it was mid-June, my operation, so early June. Okay. Yeah, you were, whatever. Anyway, so it's a segue. And if you haven't been here before, it's an introduction to what's coming next. Okay, so that'll work. Yeah, so we looked at the, sort of actual practice in relation to meditation. Now we're backtracking to looking at making the preparations for that. There's some classic presentations of that that are, sort of presented in Lama Tsongkhapa's great treatise of the path to enlightenment. And then some of them are much more extensively more detailed explanation and so forth in Papanka Rinpoche, in Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand. So I don't think anyone's got the notes right, because I sent them to Susan.
Yeah, she said, well, to me,
okay, so I'll send them to you here after the class, so I'll just go through. Yeah, I'll send them on to I'll send them to you guys. What are you for? Okay. So making preparations for, so we generally have these traditional gathering of conducive conditions that favour an effective meditation practice. I mean, if we see here, we probably come in and set a motivation and go straight into meditation. When we're doing a daily practice, whether it be a daily, sort of day-to yoga practice of some sort, I mean, it's usually in relation to that, or regular meditation of, say, Lam Rim or so forth. We have in typically what's presented these 6 practices that are preparation. I think you may all be familiar to some extent. So the first one, and this is following the outline of Lama Tsongkhapa in the Great Treatise of the Path, is cleaning well the place where you're staying. So, like, for example, here, we're not all coming in and cleaning the gompo, when we come in. Fortunately, we have, like, Katie comes once a week and does a big clean and takes everything off the altar, zhuzhes it up and does all of that. Isla's joining us. Wasn't sure if that woman is. Would you like to join us? Would you like to come in? Lizzie will see. It's okay. Isla's our 4-footed Dharma student. She likes the gompa instead of some very good conditions from past lives. Yeah, so we clean the place. I was mentioning that Katie comes in and does extensive cleaning, hours of cleaning here at least once a week. But for ourselves at home to keep our come over here. Come and sit here. Open your ears. No, it's a bit. She hasn't developed concentration. She likes you. It's like the person who doesn't want to have her there. Oh, well, she's got Bo. She's got a new person. She doesn't seem to object. So, you know, when I was, Geshe Zopa was giving some teachings at Kunsang Yeshe in the Blue Mountains. And he was actually being resident there. And he said he'd negotiate with Kat Ninja compassion. So he said, no, I told her she can have it at night time, but I've got to have it during the day. And then we're in this teaching and Ninja's just sort of pacing around like Isla and then eyeing off. And then she came and sat behind him on the throne. He didn't bat an eyelid or flinch a muscle. And then she did what cats do, pushed. And he still just continued, right?
When the younger brother has passed away and he just wanted to come with us.
Yeah, they can do that. Yeah.
Just get back. Yeah.
And maybe get the name for our dedications for someone who's passed away.
No, please.
We can escort, we can send her outside.
Yeah.
No, not you. Can you take her outside, Bo, and outside here, and or one of you, Christine?
Yeah.
And then maybe if we close this door, she can't get back in. Well, she doesn't like that idea. She says, no, I want to stay. I made all this effort, past lives. Isla. No, she doesn't like, she's not a cuddly cat. She'll eventually go out. She gets bored pretty quickly. Just leave the door open. She does get bored quickly. So Bangka Rinpoche mentions the benefits. So one sutra talks of 5 benefits of cleaning the place well. One's mind will become clear. Others people's minds will become clear. It pleases the gods. One collects the karma to be beautiful. Go for it. Check out the Botox. And one will be reborn in celestial realms when one leaves my body, your body, leaves this body. He says, my own precious guru told me the gods who uphold virtue are constantly visiting the human realms and protecting people who practice Dharma properly, but not cleaning your room discourages them and they cannot offer their protection because they avoid unclean things, unclean places. So always talk about, you know, wishing to invite the Buddhas in, the gurus in, the deities in, but we have to make the place inviting to them. We can also think about it in terms of purification of our mind and creating causes to establish our own pure land as a Buddha, you know, which when we hear the descriptions are all very beautiful and so forth. Cleaning your room pleases your guru, the Buddhas, and so on, not just the gods who uphold virtue. You collect the karma to be beautiful. This does not refer to having physical beauty. It will cause you to have pure ethics. Pure ethics do not make the body handsome, but is something most beautiful to the perception of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. His quote from Lama Tsongkhapa, the discerning are clothed in modesty. This is ethics, not fine satins. Eloquence adorns their throats, not a necklace, their speech. Their guru is their crown jewel, not some gem. Okay. So we have the famous story of the monk Chuda, who had the difficulty of not being able to remember, like he was trying to learn a 4-line verse and he could never remember it. and his parents passed away. And his older brother ordained. He was a great scholar, great monk. And when the inheritance ran out, Chuda went to his older brother and said, I've been trying to, learn this verse and I can't, blah, blah, blah. And so anyway, so his brother ordained him and then tried to get him to learn, and he gave up. He said, oh, you're so dull. I don't even know why I ordained you, blah, blah, blah. He was frustrated. And the Buddha said, I'll help. And so he gave him this job of, so first of all, he said to recite sort of clean away dirt, clean away stains. So just that line. And he said, so just start with the first part. And as you do that, and the monks have to agree that you, sort of outside the gompa where we have shoes and that, to sort of clean that area and put the monk's shoes very nicely, and did that. So he learned that first bit. And then the second part, he said, okay, progress. Now come into the gompa and sweep the gompa, right? And so he was doing this, wipe away dirt, wipe away stains, wipe away stains. And so he'd start at one side of the gompa. By the time he got to the other, this side was dirty again. I don't know how long it took him to get from one side of the gompa to the other, or if it was in a very windy, dirty place. Anyway, so of course, as he goes along, he gains realizations of, it's not just sweeping the gompa floor, it's not just arranging the shoes, it's keeping, sort of purifying the stains of the mind. And through that, he gained great realization simply from cleaning the gompa, admittedly, so lots of blessings. But, I say simply from cleaning, but it was precisely following the Buddha's instructions. So he gained great realizations. And then the Buddha said to the nuns, so Chuda is now going to be your teacher. And they're like, okay, great. You're sending us the dull one to be the teacher. Right. And then, of course, he starts teaching, and they, everyone gains realizations, blah, blah, blah. Rest is history. So this is from simply cleaning. Like, we think these creating conditions have to be hard, but not necessarily. Of course, it has to be with the right motivation to do. But thinking about, we're creating a space to invite the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, to invite our gurus into. And that itself brings blessings to our mental continuum. So that's the first plus. And when we're thinking cleaning, we can think about like the whole gompa. We can also think keeping the altar clean, keeping it very nice. And as I said, Katie comes in and she takes everything, not everything off the altar. There's some of those statues that are a bit, shall we say, heavy, but takes most things off and does cleans the statues and images. So before I ordained, I was at, which centre is it? One up there, Mahamudra. And with this other nun, our daily job was cleaning the Buddha statues outside, the 5 wisdom Buddhas. And they had their little houses, and the birds would get in and poop on them. So, after that, Lama Zopa designed another proper house where the birds couldn't get in and poop. So when we put holy images outside, it's very good to keep them clean, obviously. But if we need to give them protection. So like that. So we clean the place well and neatly arrange representations of body, speech, and mind. So we have that here. Lama Zopa Rinpoche went to, please, if you would like some cushions, there's some over here. Lama Zopa Rinpoche was at Chen Resi, I think last time Rinpoche was there, which was 2018. About to be, oh no, yeah, about to be the 2020, but COVID came first. So we were in lockdown just that week. Anyway, so when Rinpoche came, he praised Geshe Sultran's sort of arrangement of the altar, because he said previously he used to talk about Chenrezig altar being very messy, and that, you know, Geshe had done transformation of the altar, and Rinpoche was very happy that it was much more orderly. Because, you know, it's easy for us when we start out as beginners and we just, you know, put simple things out on the altar. But just like here, as time goes on and someone gives you this and that, and they end up on the altar and you sort of... So we do have a lot of instructions from Geshe Zopa to create thrones to elevate the main statue so they're all at the same level and so forth. Same with Tara. There's a lot of instructions there to, you know, transform the altar and that way make it more orderly so that everything's at the same level. So he didn't say what we've got is not good, just saying, you know, make it more. So these lamas have a very clear idea of things being very orderly and neat and so forth. And so neatly arrange the representations of Buddha's body, speech, and mind, which is typically a Buddha statue, a text for the speech, and a stupa for the mind, or something like that. So if you had something like this, that one. If you had something like this, liberation in the palm of your hand, it has all three because it's a wisdom publication. It has a stupa on the binding. So any wisdom publication that has Dharma text and Buddha images can be your representation on the altar. One time I was given a travelling altar. We used to have those fold-up travelling altars. Did you have them here, remember? Where you could, they folded out and you could have Shakyamuni Buddha, Medicine Buddha, Vajrasattva, Tara. This was, you know, it was just like a little book, much about that size, and you could take it travelling with you. But I got given a smaller travelling altar from another nun, very kindly, and it was one of those sort of, anyway, it had the Bodh Gaya stupa, and then in front of that, it was like a postcard, Shakyamuni Buddha, and in front of that, Prajnaparamita, oh, you know, not the whole Prajnaparamita, the Heart Sutra, and a bit of the cloth from Bodh Gaya. Oh no, it was on the back from Bodh Gaya Buddha. So I thought, that's so cool. It was like a sort of 3D effect, you know, how they make those images that shimmer or whatever. Just like that. That very handy travelling travelling altar. So it doesn't have to be elaborate. That's what I'm saying, I guess. And it says, obtain offerings without deceit. So not nicking them from the neighbour or the botanic gardens or any park or anything like that. So the most pure offerings that we can, and arrange them beautifully. So here we have all of that. So just looking at what the Bonka Rinpoche very extensively talks about all of this. So arranging offerings. So he says, deceitful, you know, sort of deceitful motivation means making offerings out of desire for fame or to impress others. So there's the story of Geshe Ben Gungal. So he was a well, there's many stories about him. There's stories about him, like, because he's previously, in his earlier life, he was a thief. So there's stories about that. But this one was about when his sponsor was coming to visit. And so he made beautiful altar, all very elaborate and so forth. And then because he was always checking his mind, he realized that was pride arising and wanting to look good and all of that. And so he threw dirt all over everything. And at that point, his sponsor came in. And so, yeah, it was like, I don't want you to be so impressed that you, continue to sponsor me. We've got to check our minds, was what he's saying. So I guess in general, then, the offerings we make, like at home, not necessarily to be seen by others. And it depends on your circumstance. You might live in a place where it's unavoidable. You don't have a sort of spare room. Actually, one of the students at Vajrayana Institute shared a house with somebody who was not pro-Buddhism. And so you can get those the close-up altars, ones that it's a Tibetan tradition as well, where you can just close the doors and people don't know what's behind. So anyway, there's different ways of doing. So he says, if someone was expected in your house today, you would sweep it out more conscientiously and put out offerings on your altar than usual. You wouldn't offer just one butter lamp candle. You would fill the house with sweet-smelling incense. But it's very difficult to tell if you simply want to impress your guest or whether the offering will benefit or harm you. There's a lot of provisos about this. However, arranging them beautifully, so we make the arrangements as beautiful as possible. So it's what makes it beautiful for our mind, so that, somebody else doesn't come along and says, oh, you should do that differently because or change your offerings, for example. Make it as beautiful as possible. And then there's a lot about doing it yourself and not getting someone else to do it. But I think probably doesn't, apply to us so much. You hear stories of the past of like Lama Atisha, even when he was sick or so forth, he always did his own offerings and so forth, because they would have, like, for example, can't always do. Lama Zopa Rinpoche would have, like, those of you who have been to Kopan have probably met Venerable Tenzin, who for many decades would be doing offerings in Rinpoche's room there, or now there's a group of people doing offerings there, especially with Rinpoche's holy body being there. There's many offerings made daily. I had the great fortune to be in Rinpoche's house in Aptos, where there were 3 of us nuns, 5 hours every day before 2 p.m. We usually did it before lunch because then we just made all the offerings on every conceivable ledge and every conceivable up the stairs, everywhere. Yeah, there's a lot of water carrying. So he did have people making the offerings, but then Rinpoche offered the offerings because we did the physical bit, but Rinpoche once a day would make the offerings of all the houses, the centres, all out. So it's important as well for us to have offerings on the altar, because whatever Rinpoche was, he'd offer all the offerings that were in all the centres, and give teachings and talking about, and all the offerings of Amitabha Buddhist Center. Just to close the door now. In the Losang Dragpa Center in Kuala Lumpur, and so forth and so forth. And I found it really interesting during COVID when we were closed down. Of course, I was at Chen Rezig and we kept doing the offerings, in fact, kept doing practices in the altar because we were family. We were deemed a family, the whole 40 of us on the property. The backyard was 160 acres. So you had a bit of walking that you could do, etc. But then I saw what they were doing at the centre in KL, Losang Dragpa Centre. So they were making extensive offerings, and because nobody was allowed into the Gompa, they just filled the whole Gompa with offerings, especially on holy days. Just like there were tables and tables and tables of offerings. How amazing. You know, they didn't, recognizing the importance and not giving up on that. And then, of course, when we, you know, after we've taken refuge, we may have that commitment to offer the first part of our food or the best portion of our food, so that we may not place that on the altar, although there is a wonderful practice of, you know, and of course, I was thinking this morning when I was thinking about this, I shall probably do this myself here, because it's offering tea to the lamas. We used to do this in Aptos, you know, offering on the different altars and so forth, and at Chenrezig, offering daily. And I thought, I mean, it's okay I do over there, but you know, perhaps I can do over here. I'm just making that commitment now, because, you know, being someone who likes tea, it's extra meaningful when it's something that you you know, love yourself.
I like taking every opportunity.
Yeah.
And thinking about when that opportunity is even more meaningful.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, making it's something that brings delight to your mind, right? So it's an easy way for me to offer tea and bring delight to my mind. And then, you know, wishing to bring delight to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and the gurus. They don't need it. They're not going to actually drink it. Although I guess Sultan did say one time that he offered he was making some requests and he was offering tea, and he said the tea went down. So he was convinced. I mean, it does go down at the end of the day because we can see the rim where it was, you know. Anyway, so, and then there's John Pao Young's commentary to the Abhidharma Kosha. It says, in relation to when we're making the water offerings, the qualities of water: cool, delicious, light and soft, clear, odorless, easy on the throat and kind on the stomach is water with the 8 properties. So it's quite nice to think of those, because, you know, we're doing this as, when we get on to looking at Nyondro, offering water bowls, offering 100,000 water bowls is one of the practices of particularly great purification. So the karmic benefits of that, your ethics will be pure because the water you offer is cool. Because it's also delicious, you will come to enjoy the most delicious food. So when we say delicious, it's good to offer water that is as pure as possible. So the water in Perth's pretty good, right? So we, next door, we still have, and in Bun, we do have those purification things. Filters, thank you. So it's a clay one, I mean, just having. And so for your mind to think, I'm giving as clear and pure as I can. When I was at Chandrakirti Centre in New Zealand, so they would, because no matter what you do, there'd be some sooty substance in the water. So they'd triple filter the water. It's just like after that saying, well, it's as clear as we can get it, you know. So do your best. The lightness of the water means your mind and body will become fit. The water's softness results in a gentle mind stream. A clear mind results from the water's clearness. Its odorlessness will purify you of karmic obscurations. So we can see how this relates to creating the causes for, you know, generating realizations. Because the water does not hurt the stomach, your body will be free of illness. It's easy. It's being easy on the throat means you will come to have a pleasant speech. So I just think that's absolutely beautiful, you know, to think like that. The qualities, not just, oh, I'm making, you know, I'm doing the offerings, but really thinking about the benefits of that. It's just so beautiful, you know. Yeah. And then when we make the offerings, like when we do here in our practices in Guru Puja and so forth, we have the many verses for the offerings. So we have like in, it's very interesting when we look at extensive forms of offering. So I won't go through how we place it out, and I think we're all familiar with all of the actual practice, but that's, as I said, not offering it. If we don't do the offering verses, so we say like, may human and divine offerings most actually arranged and mentally created. So that actually arranged is what we put out, and mentally created. So we talk about transcendental offerings or supramundane offerings, that they're not ordinary. So what we visualize, yes, we can visualize all the most beautiful water in all the sort of most pristine lakes, or, you know, wherever we think of the purest of water. And then, you know, think about Tibet at the very beginning, all those rivers and so forth that end up in the rest of Asia, but at the very source, where pristine pure water, and then multiply that on every atom of space. And then water for drinking, same. So water for drinking, water for bathing the feet. Then the flowers, we can think about all the most beautiful flowers that we could ever visualize from all the botanic gardens around the world, all those people who have, do they have that in WA, the, you know, sort of in the Blue Mountains, famous for people's, you know, extensive gardens, and then people go up and do the garden crawl in September or whatever, you know, go and look at all these most, what was it? Open gardens, yeah, that people have put their pride and joy into. So when you think about, you know, just go for it on every atom of space, of the most beautiful flowers, which are beauty for the eyes. And then the incense, you know, again, the most pure incense. And when we get incense, it's good to get like Tibetan incense, or, you know, like here we have some Laudo incense. So it was Rinpoche's preferred was Laudo, I suppose, because supporting Laudo Gompa, which is where he's from. But also like our nunneries, the Kopan nuns and so forth, that it's also thinking that it's supporting them as well. So making it, you know, as pure as we can, thinking this is the cause for pure ethics, pure morality. You know, the sweet scent of morality. And lights, this is where Rinpoche would do extensive offerings of lights, the visualized ones. I remember one time in Sydney, Rinpoche was going, and all the lights of the phosphorescent fish, all the lights on all the ships, all the stars in the sky, all the offerings in every center, in everybody's house, in every like office building, in every, like everything you could think of that we're visualizing so that we can transform that. Where am I up to? And then perfume. That's where we're up to. Yes, perfume. You can think about all the most exquisite perfume you could think of. So here on the Tara altar, when Geshe Zopa gave us instructions for that, because, you know, what happens as soon as we've got more offering bowls, people say, well, I'm not going to do those, you know, it's when they're here volunteering. And so we didn't say anything to Geshe-la, but he said, so people don't get a disturbed mind. he gave us instructions for the offering so that the water got changed once a year. The little perfumes, because I was looking for some nice perfume bottles and so forth. And then I was at Kun saying, yes, you just happened to be there. And somebody had offered to them these bottles of perfume, right? Oh, amazing. And they're just so lovely. And so they offered them to us. So here they are. And if they've got a little vial inside, we just top up the perfume every year, once a year on Losar. So it's sort of making it easy for us. And then of course we did the same after a while for Medicine Buddha, because if we understand the value of doing, we'll want to do. But if we don't understand the value of doing, then our mind gets hard. The mind gets hard, closed. So perfume, food. So offering delicious food and being practical here again. Most people like chocolate, right? So we got some chocolates that were last year, which probably all chocolate does, I think. I don't know what's in it, but it's not handmade chocolates. They might not last. But anyway, so far these have lasted and no sentient beings have got in there and gobbled them up. We've got to think about these things. And think about the level. One time I was in the house I was living in, I had, my regular altar, but then I was doing another practice and I put extensive practices, and some offerings were down low. And my little dog, she didn't get to them because I got there first, but she was very curious about the water bowl offering. And I thought, note to self, do not put them at the dog's nose, mouth level. Yeah. She used to sit next to me when I was meditating. I thought that was good. Whatever her purpose, it was good that she was sitting next to me. I'm just going to be where you are. Fine. I like to think she was picking up on the vibes. Who knows? And music. So here we have representations for music. So it said that, sometimes we don't need to put that one up because it's offering from we offer, but it's only when we're offering the voice, which of course we're doing in our practice. But making music. So if we're doing Guru Puja here or so forth, even though we do put it up, you would say you don't necessarily have to put it up. So for all the pujas, there's different setups. So of course we need to learn the different setups for the different pujas. So yeah, obtaining offerings without deceit and arranging them beautifully. So if all you have for offerings are finger-sized ritual cakes, so tormas that we talk about, and I thought about that because when we do Tara Puja, we have the delight of Colin's lovely, very decorative tormas, and they're not huge, right? They're not like, we haven't got huge tormas, but they're very beautiful. And we know that, it's been made by a student here who's done it very lovingly and so forth. So it's wonderful. So if all you have is finger-sized ritual cakes and half a stick of incense, do not underestimate their worth. You will increase your merits if you offer them. So Lama Zopa Rinpoche, there's one teaching where it's a mere single flower, a mere, small flower. When I was at Vajrayana Institute, this little Tibetan girl, she must have been 4 years old, and we're having a photo. They wouldn't have a photo. And she just presented me this teeny tiny flower that I wouldn't have even noticed. And I just, how sweet, to have that big mind. And then we multiply that every atom of space. Of course, so the actual physical material offerings, actual physical material offerings, yes, it's important that it's beautiful and that, but if we think, oh yes, make extensive offerings, but I can't, or, you know, that's too much, or things are getting rather expensive, etc. It's not. What's important is what we visualize that we offer. And then, of course, as we're offering all of those, what's the most important thing to offer the Guru is our practice. So this is part of it being transcendental offerings, supramundane offerings is like offering our practice. And then, you know, we have the preparation then to actually sit, and of course sit up straight on a comfortable seat in a suitable posture, because we know about the 7-point Varachana posture, and nonetheless the suitable posture, the most key thing is that our back is as straight as we can do it, so that we can keep it, because that aids in our concentration. You know, if we're sort of like this or that, we get a bit, I don't know, sleepy or drowsy or distracted in some way. So in other words, we feel this is my formal meditation posture. Doesn't matter what it looks like from outside. It's a matter of that this is the most conducive posture for me to engage in meditation, right? And then absorb yourself in the practice of going for refuge and developing the spirit of enlightenment. Visualize the field for cultivating the collections of merit and wisdom. Okay, so again, these are rather extensive practices. You know, we set our motivation going for refuge and then developing bodhicitta. So there's a practice at the end of that, which is just a simple outline for each of these stages. Visualize the field for accumulating merit and collections of merit and sublime wisdom. So we'll come back to this. So all of these, in fact, all of our practices, Lama Yeshe said, the most, what we're doing with this life is accumulation of virtue, of merit, and purification of negativities. So these are the cooperative conditions for gaining realizations: the accumulation of the two collections, merit and wisdom, which are favourable conditions for your practice, and the purification of your mind from obscurations. So even in doing our practices, like we have the practice of the 35 Buddhas, Lama Tsongkhapa, when he was in that retreat and doing these practices, and he visualized each of the Buddha's bodies but not their head, and so he had a direct line to Manjushri, and Manjushri gave him instructions so that he was able to then visualize the head of each of the Buddhas. And in the practice that we have now, the addition of the word Tathagata, in each one of those, Buddha, one gone beyond, comes from that, from Lama Tsongkhapa, that enables to be able to have that direct visualization. So it says, if you lack these cooperative conditions, it's extremely difficult to produce the path. This is Lama Tsongkhapa, even if you take pains to sustain the meditations that are the substantial cause of the path. So basically saying that all these preparatory practices, do I really have to do all of that? Are necessary to create the conditions to gain realizations. And then the next step, purify your mind with the 7 branches, 7-limb practice, which is all around, purification and accumulation of merit. So we have the limb of prostration that comes first, purifying pride. And when we do in Guru Puja, this is very extensive. In fact, you could say the Guru Puja is an extensive 7-year practice. Well, a lot of it is, you know. So we have in fact, I'll start with the prostrations. We have making prostrations to the Guru as a Sambhogakaya. So the representations that are seen by Arya beings who see directly, you know, like the representations here in that aspect of each of the Buddhas, of Manjushri, Bodhisattva there and so forth. We can't see that because our mind are obscured. So it says, your compassion grants even the sphere of great bliss, the supreme state of the 3 kayas in an instant. Guru with jewel-like body, Vajra holder, I prostrate at your feet. And then Guru's Namanakaya, the transcendental wisdom of all. So Namanakaya is the aspect that we can perceive. So like Shakyamuni Buddha to the aspect of a saffron-robed monk talks about. So that we're able to, well, we weren't able to at that time be tamed by past Buddhas, but we have our teachers today. But, you know, we have His Holiness Dalai Lama, Buddha Chenrezig, who, for those who can perceive that, see directly in 1,000-arm Chenrezig or 4-arm, 2-arm, 8-arm, and so forth. And yeah. One of the students at Vajrayana Institute talked about a friend of his who, not Buddhist, went to, had an audience with the Dalai Lama. This was quite some years ago. And when she came out from that audience, he said, how did it go? And what she described seeing was 1,000-arm Chenrezig, right? So it'd have to be a past life, you know. Well, she got an audience. I mean, not everyone gets an audience. So there was already, like even Kadrila, when she was initially trying to get audiences with the Dalai Lama, it took a long time until His Holiness said, bring me that, what do you call it? The word's gone. You know, when Kadrila, when she's oracle, yes. Oracle, bring me that oracle. And of course, when she very first was in Dharamsala and saw His Holiness in a car, what she described seeing was also, you're the one. I'm just going to make your day. No, she said, I'm going to make you love me. Yeah. So the Guru as Namanakaya, sporting in the guise of a saffron-robed monk. Then the Guru as the Dharmakaya, the truth body, the wisdom mind of the Buddha. You eliminated all faults and their imprints from the root and are a treasury of infinite precious qualities, sole source of benefit and bliss without exception, perfect pure Guru, I prostrate at your feet. Guru as a manifestation of the 3 rare sublime ones, which is Rinpoche's preferred translation for triple gem or 3 jewels, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Because actually, I say his preferred, but when you look at the Tibetan, it's more precise, 3 rare sublime ones, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, because Rinpoche would say, you know, it's not just it transforms our mind by thinking how rare, how precious the most important ones in our life, rather than if we say triple gem, it's sort of like sapphires, diamonds, whatever. So we're not thinking about it as ordinary. Teacher of gods and all, embodiment of all Buddhas, source of 84,000 holy dharmas. You stand out amongst the whole host of Aryas. Kind Guru, I prostrate to you. And then the Guru's manifestation of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, To the Gurus dwelling in the 3 times and 10 directions, the 3 precious sublime ones and all worthy of homage, with faith, conviction, and an ocean of lyric praise, I prostrate, manifesting as many atoms of the universe. So we do this in our prostration practice. We think about, when we're doing a prostration practice, anytime we're doing any prostrations, of thinking I'm prostrating with the whole of my body, speech and mind, but also as, multiplying on every atom of space. So there's a description there when we do the 35 Buddhas practice of making our bodies as big as possible, think of all our past, present, and future bodies, thinking of extensively multiplying everything on every atom of space. And this comes from Samantabhadra, in the King of Prayers. If we look at the extensive offerings there in the King of Prayers, on every atom are Buddhas, so multiplying that as well as on every atom numbers, Buddhas numberless as atoms, each emits a host of bodhisattvas, and I am confident the sphere of all phenomena is entirely filled with Buddhas in this way. So we're visualizing extensive Buddhas on every atom of space. Yeah. So this, if we're, so we're doing the prostrations, isn't it? Obviously. So this is, we've got to think, it's overcoming pride. And then the second limb, that of offering. So we mentioned earlier how extensively we do offering in the Guru Puja. I was going to count up the number of verses we do offerings in, but I didn't do that. We offer all that's placed here on the altar, 5 sense objects. We offer mandala, I'll come back to that. Offering our practice, most important thing to offer, inner offering, secret offering, suchness offering, medicine, service. So everything. And that overcomes miserliness and greed. So when we look at the perfection of generosity, which we can say simply by this verse of offering or making the offerings, that we're sort of practicing gaining the perfection of generosity, which you think, we look at the 6 perfections, this is the very first one to engage with, to stop this self-grasping and start to sort of open and offer out to others. And again, we take every opportunity when we can to practice generosity, even here, as I say, when we're making the offerings, even we have half a stick of incense and so forth, we offer that extensively, and that itself, and what's the best practice of generosity is offering to all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, all the Gurus, and so forth. Again, Geshe Sultan mentioned that he was very close with his teacher, who was abbot of Serajay, and he would see his teacher every day. And he said every time he saw his teacher, he had something to give, right? I mean, it might be an apple, it might be a stick of incense, I don't know, he didn't elaborate on. It's not about so much, impressing the teacher, but an appreciation. And when we do offer, it's not like, oh, here, like when we, like at the end of a teaching, say we just had Geshe Sopa teaching, and then we may have a, come up and offer a kata, and if we have even like the kata, and if we have something else on top, but we're offering it very respectfully, right? In Reborn in the West, talking about Oso being the reincarnation. Yes, it was, wasn't it? Yes, that's right. Lama Yeshe. It's just like I'm mixing up my books here. And Vicky McKenzie, who wrote that, talked about one time when she was in front of Lama Yeshe and was like, "I'm so sorry, Lama, I have nothing to give," like meaning something material in here to offer you. And he said, "That's all right, dear, I have your heart. You've offered your heart." So it's like so beautiful, like. So it's in our intention in our mind. The practice of generosity is our intention in our mind. So making that offering very genuinely, purely from our heart, whatever we want to offer or have to. So in that vein, I find it handy when I know there's going to be a lama around, to always have a kata in my bag. In fact, I've got a bag full of the kata in my bag. One time I was given a bag that had a zip on the side. I went, perfect, kata pocket. Goes in there. So anyway, this overcomes our miserliness and greed. Ultimately overcomes our self-cherishing mind, which is the root of all our own suffering and so forth, and all, as a result of all the afflictions in our mind. So it's purifying all of that. And the more vastly that we visualize the offerings, the more vast the merits we're accumulating. And then we have the limb of confession, which overcomes the afflictions. So here we have the regular practice of Vajrasattva. Well, supposedly once a month we do as a group here. It's coming up soon, isn't it? And but we do this anyway as a daily practice. So, for example, typically doing Vajrasattva in the evening. Or it can be a lot of these nyondro that are coming up are precisely about that. It can be doing prostrations. For example, Geshe Samten at Vajrayana Institute, when you do the verse of confession in the Lama Chöpa, Guru Puja, so he gets everybody up doing the prostrations to the 35 Buddhas there, which is fabulous. In the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, we have, it sort of suggested doing at that verse of confession, doing the Vajrasattva practice there. And then we also have Samaya Vajra purification practice, which is in particular, Samaya is like pledge, Vajra, it's your tantric pledges. So it's Samaya Vajra practice is particularly in any broken Samaya in relation to the Guru, especially any tantric, vows and so forth. Doesn't have to be only tantric. So it can be quite good to do Samaya Vajra in the morning and Vajrasattva in the evening. I don't know, just like you think, oh, I'm not going to do them more. It can get a bit overwhelming. I've got to do this, this, and this, and this. And then I go, next, if you've got a lot of commitments. So, but doing any act like that of confession. So just looking at it here after all the offering practices. In the retreat book, it has both Vajrasattva and Samaya Vajra at this point. So whatever non-virtues, negative actions I have done from beginningless time caused others to do, or which I have rejoiced, before those having great compassion, I confess them with regret and vow never to commit them again. So when we do have these, the confession, whatever practice of purification that we do, we're including the four opponent powers in that, even just very concisely like this verse. When we do the Vajrasattva practice, when we do the 35 Buddhas practice, it's more extensively, the four opponent powers are more extensively laid out there to make it really easy for us to do. Yeah. Okay, so let's try and get through the 7 limbs. Then the next limb of rejoicing, as Lama Zopa Rinpoche says, we don't do enough rejoicing. And here, when we do practice, like when we do medicine, Buddha Puja and so forth, where many times we repeat the verses of the 7 limbs, but the rejoicing one, and then as Rinpoche instructs, we rejoice in all the past, present, and future merits of ourselves, of all the other sentient beings. Now, I find it really useful there to think of what people are, what I'm inspired by people in the world. You know, during COVID, it was all the medics, all the first line responders, and, you know, make it relevant to something in your life, that being inspired by others and how we can rejoice in their virtues and so and then in all the bodhisattvas, so we pick out the ordinary bodhisattvas, those who are not yet Arya bodhisattvas on the 8th, 9th, 10 crowns. So all those bodhisattvas and the Arya bodhisattvas, and then the Buddhas, inseparable from our own precious gurus. It's quite nice to rejoice like that, you know, calling all of those to mind. And to think that when we're talking about, you know, they say that when you somebody who's got the same level as practice as you get all their merits. So as many people as you visualize, if they're lower than you, get double the merits and all this sort of thing. And then all the way up to the Buddhas, you get a tenth of their merits. Given that Buddhas have extensive, you know, beyond merits, go for that. You know, just like, yeah, I want to become a Buddha, so 10th of their merits, I'll rejoice in that. Thank you very much. And it's the easiest thing for us to do, just every time somebody does something that inspires us, or that, you know, we rejoice, and it overcomes the jealousy of like, I wanted to go on that pilgrimage, I can't go. You know, I don't have the time. No, fantastic. You get to do pilgrimage. I'm saying that because me and Christine are about to do pilgrimage with Geshe Soka. We're very, well, I'm very excited. You're very excited. Yeah. So just go for it. Rejoice in what others do. And it's very easy to then accumulate vast merits. And so then requesting the teacher to stay, you know, and here we have the very recent example of Lama Zopa Rinpoche passing from this life, and also people's response to that of thinking, oh, what's going to happen? You know, the guru's gone. The guru's never gone. The guru's always in our heart, and they're always guiding us. We can feel great delight that, you know, we are within, whether we have taken Lama Zopa Rinpoche as our direct root guru or not, we are in Rinpoche's mandala. We are in his circle of disciples. And this purifies negativities towards teachers by requesting to remain, you know, for the benefit of the world. So we do make requests constantly, actually, to our teachers. Hopefully we do, to ask them to remain, because otherwise they'll go somewhere else. If they're requested to go somewhere else, you know, in the long life puja, there's the dakini dance, where the dakinis come in with the intention to lure the guru up to the Pure Land. And you know, we've got to think, our lamas are getting these requests left, right, and centre, you know, so that we're not requesting, we may not benefit. And this has happened, you know, with lamas who visited Australia, and maybe we haven't requested. I know, like, recently Jado Rinpoche was here, not at our request, at Thubten Lodi's request, but then I don't know how many times, John said it's been many times of requesting Jado Rinpoche. And we overdid it this time because we requested twice, and he said, I've already accepted it. Next time come. Next time he's in Australia, to come here. He did say next year, but I don't know which next year. They always say next year, it means next time. To come here, Hayagriva, and offer Hayagriva empowerment. But persistent, even then, you've got to create the causes for that. Because we had the requests that went to Tri Rinpoche, Ganden Tripa, to come. And anyway, it looked close, and now it's looking further and further, not happening. So, we continue to make requests. And overcoming the negativities. So we have that verse, may I not arise heresy for even a second in relation to the actions of the glorious Guru. Now see whatever actions are done as pure. With this devotion, may I receive the Guru's blessings in my heart. So that checking our minds for any negativity, any frustration, any criticism, any judgment, that training our mind to always see the Guru as pure, that, thinking they're not operating on a conventional level, therefore we don't always understand, and it can be very simple, like, when we were at His Holiness teachings in Sydney one time, and I was quite involved in the volunteering side. So before His Holiness goes on stage, there's this whole what goes on behind, and this was when the car would draw up and His Holiness would get out. Every day or every session, there'd be a group of people presented to His Holiness. So we were there, and 3 of us nuns who were working together. And so we were here, and then there were the Kyoto monks on the way in. So there was chat with the Kyoto monks and another group, I can't remember who they were, and then walked straight past us and went to the people who offered all the flowers. See the benefit of offerings. And it's just like, for a moment I was disappointed, to say the least. And I went, it's okay, He's got us, we're there, we're monastics, we're there, we don't need to spend time. So it's just like, we've got to work with our minds on that and do our purification practices. Yeah. So when we are requesting to stay, as Lama Zopa Rinpoche's advice when we do it in Guru Puja, is that we visualize ourselves as like Brahmins offering thrones to the teacher, to the Guru. Yeah. So we're making offerings and then requesting to teach. Again, this goes along with, we tend to put these two together, request to stay and request to teach, because that's why we want them to stay in this world system. Now that feels very real because Lama Zopa's passed, and it happened so suddenly and unexpectedly, and for us at least, requesting to teach. And so this is purifying, avoiding the Dharma or abandoning the Dharma, which can happen. I remember having a conversation with somebody who, very much part of the mandala and so forth, who said Lama Zopa Rinpoche said one time to her and someone else that they had the danger of abandoning the Dharma. And you just think, no way would they have the danger of abandoning the Dharma. But, this is the perception of the Guru, to say, so very handy to have advice like that. It'd be shocking, wouldn't it? Just, well, what do you mean? There might be, avoiding, you might not be relinquishing the Dhamma altogether, but avoiding doing your practice, avoiding maybe the Dharma center, not that you can't get there, but having all that avoidance, which is a form of laziness. It's, I haven't got time. I'm so caught up in worldly affairs. I haven't got time for the Dharma. So, or, I won't go to that teaching, whatever, or so forth. So, but it's really more in relation to our practice. So we have to be very, very careful in relation to this. So this is also, we're still on the 7 limbs. requesting the Guru to turn the wheel of Dharma. Visualize numberless replicas of yourself in the form of Brahma, each offering beautiful 1,000-spoke gold Dharma wheels. You can probably see better than me. I can't turn that far at the moment. The Dharma chakra is up there, on there. So offering a beautiful 1,000-spoke Dharma wheel. And, you know, when the Tibetan Prime Minister came to Australia just for 2 days to visit Parliament, to thank the Prime Minister, thank the Parliament for looking after the Tibetan community in Australia. He presented the most beautiful, about this big Dharma chakra, golden Dharma chakra. That was his gift to the Parliament. Just that thinking, just to have that mind that would think that way. And, you know, who knows what they did with it, but think of the imprints on their minds, and, you know, very gold and it looked beautiful. So they had to be stunned by the beauty of it anyway. And then, as Rinpoche says, if you have an actual small Dharma wheel, so in our mandala set, we have, you know, the top guru, it's a Dharma chakra that goes on top. So you can hold it up while reciting these verses while you do the visualization. Yeah. So the verse there, please let fall a rain of profound and extensive Dharma from 100,000 billowing clouds of perfect wisdom and compassion. So in the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, we have that. We visualize the billowing clouds. It's looking for it. That's going to be up there one day. Just visualize that behind the billowing clouds, behind Lama Tsongkhapa and the two suns. That's part of our advice. So that the jasmine garden of benefit, of bliss, and of infinite transmigratory beings may be born, abide long, and grow. So many, many stories of requesting. For example, you never know what's going to happen, you know. The Bodhana Stupa, very famously in the past, there was a day of the year where you could make a request to the king, and that request got granted. So this very poor woman who had, I think it was 4 sons, she was a chicken farmer and raised chickens. So she had no money. And her request was the stupa, the Bodhana Stupa. And it was granted. So it's called the wish fulfilling stupa. So they say when you go there, when you first see it, you know, make a big wish and so forth, big Dharma wish, right? And so you never know what can happen, right? That happened. And then her sons became, you know, one was ordained and was a famous scholar. One was, I think, became a minister, and, you know, they all got very big roles. Okay. So requesting to teach. So we can make specific requests. So just like with Jado Rinpoche, requesting higher Griva initiation, because last time Lama Zopa Rinpoche was here, 2006, I remember Rinpoche said, next time I'll come, I'll grant higher Griva. Well, that time hasn't come yet. Maybe he's manifesting in the form of Jado Rinpoche to offer that. Who knows? You know, the request will be fulfilled. So we keep requesting. And then dedication. Of course, we know about extensive verses of dedication and the importance of dedication, so that to like seal our practice, to like bring closure to our practice. And even though we know it, we can often forget to do that. Whatever virtuous, even I've just rejoiced in something, I'll dedicate that rejoicing, or dedicate whatever virtue throughout the day, because I might die in between, or I might get angry in between. So losing the merits to anger, or having heresy arise in our mind, so that all the accumulation of merits of virtue can be cut in an instant through arising anger towards one bodhisattva who we don't know who they are, who is, So Isla might be your bodhisattva. Be careful. So we'll dedicate before any more arises. So many versions of dedication against that. So I just sort of rushed through that last bit. When you see this, I'll have to go on a bit more next time, which is fine, because the next part's the introduction to the Nyondro practices, which we'll do in September. But when you get this document, I've included just a simple version of those preliminary practices. Yeah, I've left out the mandala offering, but we can come back to this. There's a bit more on that to do. Questions, comments? Okay. Well, we better dedicate before anything else happens. No, you're not. You're rejoicing. You're rejoicing. You're rejoicing. You just go, jealous, rejoice, rejoice. You just keep training your mind. Rejoice, rejoice. Yeah. You can think that then you're also creating the causes to have that arise for yourself as well. But just think what the mind of rejoicing does to your, it's the easiest way to uplift our mind. It works totally. No, we don't. Yeah.
Yeah. And
so
jealousy, rejoice, jealousy, rejoice.
Yeah, just keep.
And I have made that connection.
Yeah, just keep doing it. We keep doing it until
but it's not a habit.
It eventually, no. But the only way we build a habit is we keep doing, right?
Culturally, we don't want to feel too good about ourselves because we don't want to think of ourselves as being so big, high and mighty, so we tend to kind of
Damn it down.
So if
Yeah.
you do something like this, actually is virtuous. It's a very good thing. I remind myself it's okay to feel good about it.
Yeah.
It's always good because it's not one, like during the rejoicing, it's a good point to make, is not one that is about pride. And we can think, wow, sort of coming back to the practice of generosity that, that, oh, I did offer that person whatever it was, fantastic, rejoice in that and dedicate that action and so forth. Because thinking non-conventionally, it's overcoming my self-cherishing mind. It's creating that sort of spaciousness mind that really, if rejoicing feels good, I want to do more of it because I want to, what's our whole purpose is to generate more and more virtue so that empowers us to be able to do more, because it's rather addictive in a positive way. Fantastic. If you think Lama Zopa Rinpoche, what are some of the things? Amazing, 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 amazing. Wow, 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 wow. Rejoicing. Wow, 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 wow. Rejoice, rejoice, rejoice. Yeah. Good. Dedications. Page 8. Ewadi Nyududa Lama Sange Dragune Droa Chikyama Lupa De Salago Pasho Janchub Sencho Grimpoishe Makye Panam Gekuchi Kepa Nyampa Mepa Yang Gone Gondu Kawashu. Pray for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, incomparably kind and supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world. May you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And a prayer for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious one, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang, father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings. Through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request, while striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels, and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. And long life prayer for Tenzin Osul Rinpoche, Lord of Dharma, who in accordance with the various dispositions of those to be subdued, makes clear in the light of your well-spoken advice the sacred Ganden tradition, essence of Buddha's teachings. Foremost and holy Lama, to you who are supreme, we make this prayer of supplication. Lama, please, please live long. Thank you very much. Yes, so the next class is the beginning of, oh, I need to,
It's Thursday night.
well, yeah, I'll just stop this. Oh, it started again. Somehow. Oh,